Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Bread with Rivaj Maharaj, where, as we say, nothing is off the table. And for today's episode, I wanted to talk about an issue that is doing the rounds in the news currently, and that is regarding Iran saying it will allow Japanese ships to transit the Strait of Hormuz. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I've come across an article in Al Jazeera saying Iran says it will allow Japanese ships to transit the Strait of Hormuz. Japan sources more than 90% of its crude oil imports from the Middle East and is heavily dependent on exports transiting the key waterway. Iran says Japanese ships will be allowed to transit the Strait of Hormuz in the latest sign that Tehran has started pursuing a selective blockade of the strategic waterway. We have not closed the strait. In our opinion, the strait is open. It is closed only to ships belonging to our enemies, countries that attack us. For other countries, ships can pass through the strait. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told Japan's Kyodo News late on Friday. We are talking to them to find a way to pass safely. We are ready to provide them with safe passage. All they need to do is contact us to discuss how this route will be, Araghchi said, according to an English transcript of the interview shared on his Telegram account. Now, 90% of Japan's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. I flagged this in my other videos, and it is in the best interests of the Japanese and the Europeans to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is open. I suspect they don't want to be tied down militarily. I think they're terrified that should the United States exit the Iran war, and there's two ramifications. Should they get involved militarily and the United States exits, they're left in a very dire position because they then come up with adversaries against the Iranians, and then they have to negotiate with the Iranians, which will be playing much more harder ball. Or alternatively, it's a tit for tat with with what's been going on geopolitics, the tariffs, the Greenland debacle, and things like that. So everybody's out for Donald Trump's blood, basically, and they don't want to get involved. However, should the United States exit the war in Iran, they will be the least affected by trade passing through the Hormuz Strait. Europe and Japan, 90% of its oil, you can imagine how hard they're going to be hit. So Donald Trump realizes that that's his card. He said to them, we might as well leave. Because if you rely so heavily on the strait and you're not prepared to help keep it open, then perhaps we'll walk away and you deal with whatever needs to be dealt with to ensure your energy needs. So Europe is stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I believe that had the Europeans and the Japanese come in as a coalition and help police the strait, they don't have to be militarily involved. As a common bloc, 10, 15, 20 countries coming together saying to the Iranian government, we are there primarily to see to it that ships transit this corridor. And should you attack those ships, then you have a problem with us. Now, the Iranians collectively having a problem with 3/4 of the world's population or the world's countries, that is a problem for Iran. Yet the Europeans have proven to have no backbone, no spine, as usual, along with the UK, and have decided to sit it out on the fence and wait till a victor of some sort emerges in order to then throw themselves into the game and side with the winning side. Well, unfortunately, you don't get to play that game. Because had you come in as a combined bloc, you didn't necessarily have to be involved in the conflict. You could have laid down your cards with the Iranian government. Allow ships to pass, don't target them, you won't have a problem with us. Target them, you draw us into the conflict, we have then reason to escalate and to retaliate. However, they've played the little, coy, shy girl sitting on the fence. And what has happened? The Iranians have milked this for all it's worth. Now, they're going to have to pay the Iranians to allow their ships to transit. So, the Japanese are in dire straits of requiring the Straits of Hormuz to be remained open. They've gone the diplomatic route. How long that's going to last, I don't know. Because even, at the worst case scenario, there could be a false flag attack on a Japanese tanker. Then what happens? The ramifications and the scenarios for things going wrong are so great. I think it would have just been easier to come in as a bloc, lay your cards on the table, and say, we have no problem with you. We just want our trade to go through safely. If you have a problem between you, the Israelis, and the United States, you'll deal with that individually. But do not deal with that at our expense. And this is where I suspect these countries have all gone wrong. So, thank you for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow. And again, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to agree or disagree. But as long as it gets a dialogue going, as long as we're able to voice our opinion, that is important. So we thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.